Good morning. So just now starting day 2 of the on-call. Well, it's basically hour 23 of being on call, and I am just headed upstairs to the wards because we did have a few admissions overnight, and I just have to make sure that patients are being taken care of properly and well managed overnight. Also, I have to consent one of them because one of them needs an operation. After that, I will just head to the morning meeting area and just wait for the meeting to start. Good morning.
Oh, hey. What's going on here?
So we'll see. Oh, it's raining. So we will see whether we get to finish all of them. Some of them are short cases, some of them a little bit longer, but none of them are, majorly long. Oh, the weather is so nice. Look. So anyway, heading now to the brief to talk about all the cases. There are two that we're not sure whether they need an operation or not. So we'll go review them again and just double check that they actually need an operation. So unfortunately, because the anesthetic nurse had to be called in for an emergency in another department, we're a little bit stuck at the moment and we can't really start our list. So until they try to provide us with another nurse who can help the anesthetic side of the operation, we can't really send for our patient. It's not the best thing because we've got 5 people on the list today. It's currently 9:05 and we haven't sent for a patient, which means honestly, if they don't find anyone, there might be a chance that 1 or 2 of our patients get cancelled, which is really sad because we could have really gotten these cases done. But emergencies are emergencies, right? So even in trauma days or trauma theaters, you have to always assess which patient has the bigger emergency so that you're prioritizing them based on that. It's not about first come, first served basis. It's more about who has the bigger emergencies, who might lose their life, who might lose their baby, and who might lose their arms or legs. They are the ones who take priority. So the patients we have are not in a life-threatening or limb-threatening condition. Therefore, the patient in another department is in a life-threatening condition. Therefore, we have to pause ours. So what I'll do now instead, get started on my admin, get my clinic sorted until we get to actually start our case. Anyways, see ya. I'm I'm just having a bit of a peaceful break, and then look what's behind me. Hello. Hello. That definitely made it made me feel a bit better about the delays of theatre. Well, it's 9:35. We still don't have a patient. But we do have a nurse, so they will send for the patient. But I'm making a new friend right there. Hello.
Here he comes. Right, wait a minute. Now he'll go over there and he'll dip it in the puddle.
There's a puddle?
He usually goes
Oh,
into
just
that
there.
roof. Oh, he's not, he's just eating it. Look at it in his throat. It's in his throat. Sid, you're gonna choke. Like you see, he'll dip it in the water, make it soft.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's currently 11:50. We just finished our first case. This is honestly much slower than yesterday because the first patient is still inside theatre, currently being recovered, so they're not really awake yet. Which basically means that we're probably starting our next case in about 40 minutes. So I don't know, maybe by 12:30 or 12:40. So we'll see. The plan was to do 5 cases today, but honestly, the way things are going, my prediction is that we're probably doing about 3 cases, I think. Unless we have a very small case, like to try to squeeze in at the end. We're looking at about maybe 3 cases. So anyway, we'll see. I'll just have to wait for the next patient. Now, I wanted to share something that no one really tells you about in theatre days. Now, because you are continuously washing your hands throughout the day, you end up being extremely dry, becomes a bit painful, very uncomfortable. So, starting to think that I'm developing an allergy to the iodine one because I've not had this in a while, and the thing I did differently this weekend is that I used the iodine scrub. Usually I use the chlorhexidine, so maybe that's why I have this. Hi, I'm basically currently on the on-call and waiting for our third patient to be anesthetized. And basically I was sort of sitting and reflecting, and I remembered one of the patients that came in during one of my on-calls, and I learned so much from that, and I thought, why don't I just share this specific experience with you guys and what I took from it. I was basically on a night on-call and a quadride came in. It was basically a potential suicide or an attempted homicide. We didn't really know at that point. We didn't know anything about the patient except that they were actively bleeding and that they could lose their life if they didn't control it immediately. We didn't have full details. We just knew that the situation was serious. And when he arrived, he had 2 kitchen knives just embedded in his neck. And in all honesty, they didn't look superficial, they were quite deep. And we could tell just how unstable that situation was. The patient was drowsy, he was barely responding, he was breathing, but not so well. And at that point, I remember just thinking about his airways and whether the knife was so close to major vessels in his neck. So we started managing him as a team. We were careful, we were deliberate, because with injuries like that, it's so easy to lose a patient with any small wrong movements. And the thing is, all of a sudden that patient woke up. He was not calm, he was very confused and agitated, and he kept trying to resist us and everything. And before we could fully react to hold him down, his hands went straight to his neck trying to grab the knives. and he just kept trying to pull it out. And I remember in that moment, everything could have gone catastrophically wrong, because removing a knife like that basically means that he might have uncontrolled bleeding and he could lose his life in a few seconds. We held him, we had the entire team holding him down, his arms and his legs, and we just needed to make sure he wasn't going to harm himself. In all honesty, the room could have spiraled, but it didn't, because looking at the person who was leading the room, they were under control. There was no shouting or panic from their side. They just gave clear instructions. They were calm and gave us everything step by step. And that sort of calmness spread. And that's how we stayed focused as a team. We managed to stabilize that patient, and we took him to the operating room where both knives were removed. And thankfully, they didn't hit anything major, so he did well and he survived the incident. After that happened, I just sat down with the junior who was with me, and we started talking about the event and reflecting on it, because it could have had a completely different outcome, but it didn't. The patient survived, and this is not one of the experiences that you can just forget, because in moments like these, your practice skills matter. Your presence, the way you are, the way you handle it, matters so much, because some surgeons bring so much calmness to a room, whereas others, they bring chaos. It could have been the same situation with a completely different atmosphere, with a different outcome. Surgery in general is high pressure, and we don't really need to add to it. Being calm doesn't mean that you're slow, and it doesn't mean that you don't really care. It just means that you're in control. And sometimes being in control, whether it's your feelings or your team, it's a reason somebody survives. I know that this comes from repetition, because from seeing situations like this over and over again until your response becomes a bit automatic, in these moments, there is no time to think. You're just falling back on everything you've practiced over time. And if what you've practiced is being in control, then it's sort of what comes out automatically. Anyway, I'm basically just waiting for a patient to be anesthetized. I wanted to share those few moments. This was something that was just in my head throughout the day, and I wanted to share what I got from this situation and the thoughts I have, because I've been reflecting on it. I believe this is our third patient of the day. We've got one more, so this one and another one. Unfortunately, we're not able to do the fifth patient, so it's just going to be a total of 4 today. But that's okay, because the fifth patient is not really an emergency, so they are somebody who can be postponed for a day or two. So no harm done to any of the patients. I'm just glad that we're getting on with at least 4 of our patients, and we can finish our cases. After we are done with theater, I'll go downstairs to the accident and emergency room. I went downstairs yesterday, but I didn't really film it. It's a very small room where you've got the junior on call, you've got the reg on call, you've got the 2 consultants who are on call, and the trauma liaison nurse, and everyone is discussing. And you're in a very tight space, and I'm at work, it doesn't make sense that I'm filming something like that, because in the end, patient confidentiality is, the thing that we have to make sure we maintain. Every time I'm filming, I'm basically just finding small pockets of time and making sure that I'm not touching on any patient confidentiality, because in the end, I want these videos to be useful, but at the same time, I don't want them to distract me from my actual job. Anyway, this is again an empty operating room. We are just next door. We've got our 2 theater lights. There's always some whiteboard behind. This whiteboard that you can see there literally has all the instruments that we use during theater. They are set there, nobody wipes it. And every time we use one instrument, they write down how many of that we have, so that before we close a patient, we make sure that we have all of our swabs and all of our needles, for example. It's one way to make sure that we don't forget anything inside a patient, because it has happened in the past. This is why they have now protocols in order to ensure that these don't happen and no harm comes to any patient. I will leave you now. I'll go see what's happening with the patient, but just wanted to share those few thoughts. See you later. Good morning. It's now hour 46 of the on-call. This is Monday morning. It's 6 a.m. We had a very, very busy night. We have about 10 admissions, so, or 11, depending if I choose to admit the person who's currently in A&E. And I'm about to do an extremely quick round. I'm about to do a very quick ward round for all of our admissions. About 5 of them need to be operated on, so I'll go do all the consents. We've got almost 2 hours to the meeting, so I just need to make sure that all the patients are properly reviewed, and if anything is missing, I need to make sure that it's completed. To be honest, it was a very continuous sort of on-call. The patients started coming in roughly around 8:30 in the morning, and then just continued until now. Anyways, I'll just head up to the ward. Speak to you later. Hello. It's now 7:40. Just managed to see about 7 of the patients. There are 3 more to be seen, but I'm not planning to see them right now. They're just social admissions, so that's okay. Their traumas are not significant, and I don't have to see them before the meeting, so I can see them after. Just finished the morning meeting. All went well. Just going back to the ward right now because apparently somebody lost a consent for one of our patients. It's not my patient, it's just someone who came yesterday morning. So they're about to operate on them. I'll do that consent and then head home. Thankfully, 48-hour shift officially done.